Lord, thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us here in Kewaunee County, especially that we are free to gather here tonight in peace to decide for ourselves our courts and our government. Lord, thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us here in Kewaunee County, especially that we are free to gather. Tonight, as we meet for the first time as a new board, we humbly pray that you grant our new board serenity to accept the oath of our office, the rule of law, and that as county officials performing county government, that there are certain matters outside our control. We pray for courage, though, to investigate, to ask questions, to discuss, and most importantly, to take action with conviction on matters we can control. And finally, Lord, we ask for good counsel and wisdom to know the difference. In your name we pray, amen.
I, Jamie Anoy, County Clerk in and for the County of Kewaunee in the state of Wisconsin, do hereby certify that all of the following named persons are members of the County Board of Supervisors of Kewaunee County when having been elected at the spring election held on April 5th, 2022, according to their certified statements filed in my office by the Kewaunee County Board of Canvassers. District 1, Gerald Poppy. 2, Nicholas Gillett. 3, Stephen Agamite. 4, Dennis Langtow. 5, Brian Patricia. 6, Daniel Olson. 7, Tim Kinnard. 8, Douglas Dell. 9, Scott Yonke. 10, Scott Brown. 11, Aaron Augustine. 12, Milt Swagel. 13, Kim Kroll. 14, Thomas Romden. 15, Linda J. Teskey. 16, Virginia Haskey. 17, Joseph Lucas. 18, Jeffrey Vollenweider Sr., 19, John E. Massler, 20, Joanne Lazansky. Dated this 26th day of April, 2022.
We will now administer the oath of office. You would all stand and raise your right hand.
I state your name. Having been elected to the office of Kewaunee County Board Supervisor, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my abilities, so help me God. Please sign your oaths.
And again, congratulations to all of you. Next item is roll call. We have 19 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum. Item 6 will be election of a chairperson. Again, reminder to all county board supervisors, when they want to speak to the chair or speak, to press the button on their microphone so that way it can be heard. I will accept nominations for chairperson. Supervisor Mastler.
Fellow supervisors, as many of you may recall, 2 years ago, Supervisor Olson and I ran for county board chair. Luckily, Supervisor Olson won. By the way, my wife wishes to thank all of you who voted for him. In the past 2 years, we have debated and studied a new jail plan, a project badly needed to replace an outdated and no longer sustainable facility. The current facility, completed in 1968, no longer meets standards set forth by the state of Wisconsin to safely house our increased daily population of guests, and is costing us dearly to ship inmates to other counties, even if they are willing to accept them. Chair Olson led this jail study committee, and we finally have a plan that will be voted on, as well as manpower to run the facility. We also have, under his leadership, looked at replacing our main highway shop, an 87-year-old facility that, to put it bluntly, is from the horse and buggy days. No longer is this facility capable of handling today's increased sized equipment, and it no longer passes environmental or OSHA regulations. Chair Olson showed that he has the ability to lead our county over the past 2 years. Therefore, I wish to place into nomination the name of Daniel Olson as County Board Chair.
Thank you Supervisor Massler. We
I'll
have a
second.
nomination. Do we have a second? Supervisor Poppy seconds the nomination, unless you wanted to
Yes.
add more.
No, yes, I second the motion.
First of all, Supervisor Olson, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for Board Chair? Are there any other nominations for Board Chair? Are there any other nominations for Board Chair? Supervisor Ramden.
I would move nominations be closed and a unanimous ballot cast for Dan Olson.
I have a motion for the nominations to be closed and unanimous consent. I have a second by Supervisor Vollenweider. All those in favor do you want this voted on or do you want it? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Our chair is Daniel Olson. Congratulations, Supervisor Olson. Please be sure to bring your microphone as well. And with that, I will now abdicate the chair.
In case anybody didn't know who they were voting for, we have two of them. Okay. Thank you for your confidence. Okay, at this time, we will move to the election of the vice chairperson. Do I have nomination Supervisor Lukes? Supervisor Poppy and Supervisor Kroll seconds that nomination. Supervisor Poppy, you are willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair, vice chair? Any other nominations? Any other nominations for vice chair? And I would seek a motion to close the nomination. Supervisor Vollenweider and second by Supervisor Augustine, close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor Poppy, congratulations, sir. Feels like we barely left. All right. Okay, so we'll move on to citizens input. Do we have, oh, sorry, I want to get ahead of you. We have those wishing to speak to the board.
The board will hear concerns members of the public wish to raise, but will not discuss or take action on any matter until the matter can be placed on an agenda with proper notice to the public. The board welcomes citizens to present their concerns to the board in a professional manner relevant to issues affecting Kewaunee County. Each citizen may take 3 minutes to present their concern, and the board has allotted a total of 20 minutes for this portion of the meeting. Please be mindful the board may halt any disruptive comments and any comments that are threatening, vulgar, or abusive. Joel Kitchens.
Come on up, Joel. It looks like it's green for you.
Well, hello. Well, we're done with our session in the legislature, so I just gives me an opportunity to come down here and attend your meeting and just give you guys a little bit of a quick update. First of all, congratulations to all of you that were reelected, and especially to the new members. I think when you see a board with so little turnover, it shows you're doing something right. Now, hopefully you can get through the jail thing in the same position, but anyway, like I said, the legislature is closed, so there's not a lot to report to you on right now. One item I will bring up, a bill that I wrote on nitrates in groundwater that the governor signed right at the very end of session, and it does several things in it. It creates a pilot program for the farmers to do new practices dealing with nitrates. It creates a hydrologist position mainly to measure the depth of bedrock around the state, and also it provides cover crop insurance rebates, and we know how important that's been in our area. It's been a collaboration of the farm groups, Dairy Business Association, Farm Bureau, corn growers. All of them were on board, but then also with Clean Wisconsin and Nature Conservancy. So it was really collaboration between the farm groups and the conservation community. And that's always been my approach. I know it's been the approach of your conservation department here in Kewaunee County. And I think it's been really successful. I should point out, with that approach and how successful I think we are being, one person that never gets enough credit, I think, is your former colleague, John Pagel, who really led the effort in that. And when we passed, put new standards in for our area around here, there were some groups that would have killed that. I think if people like John especially hadn't spoken up and said, yeah, we really need to do this. So he does deserve that credit that he never really seemed to get while he was alive. So that's really what's going on. But what I want to say though too is, over the next several months, this is when we really start writing legislation for next session. And I really, count on input from you guys. If you have any thoughts or ideas, contact me or my office. And this is the time for us to work on those things so we can get them introduced right away next session. So anyway, again, congratulations and thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate you coming all the way over here tonight and for all that you do for us in Madison. Do we have any others who have signed up to speak?
Milt Swagel.
Good evening, everyone. If you've been on the board or to new members, yes, I'm Milt Swagel. It's so much fun being on county board, so I need another challenge. So I took out papers and candidacy to run for state assembly. The incumbent spoke before us. I'm very conservative. Pro-life is very important, not to be stomping on any of the Constitution or the bylaws or the amendments and that. Thank you for your time. I am a candidate for assembly.
Just to speak to the board this evening. Is that all? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the board? We have NWTC under reports, so you guys can relax. Anyone else who wishes to, you can relax for a few seconds. Anyone else who wishes to speak to the board? Does anyone else wish to speak? Very well. We're going to move on then to reports. So like I said, few seconds, you can come on up. Doctor, I always pronounce your name wrong, so I'll let you pronounce it when you get up here. You correct me every time, but I'm afraid I won't get it right.
Thank you, Chair Olson. I'm Jeff Raffin, the president of Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. And it's great to see you. It seems like the last 2 years under this pandemic is just one black hole in terms of seeing people. Although I understand that somehow I was on the agenda last year at this time and didn't show up, because I don't know how that happened. Certainly wasn't on my agenda. I hadn't gone to any county boards during the pandemic. So I apologize for that, because that's not something that, of course, I'm proud of.
It was January of this year.
Okay. So,
Anyway, we're glad you're here now.
well, okay, so, so I'm pleased to be able to just talk to you about what's been going on for the last couple of years at NWTC. You have in front of you a folder and which has got, some reports. You're going to be glad that I'm not going to read you all those reports, but it'll give you a chance to look at that. And if you have questions, certainly you can contact me, call me on that card. Let me also introduce to you, I got 3 other folks with me. people who probably know the answers to some questions you might be asking. And they are Dr. Catherine Mogalski. She is our Vice President for Learning. She's responsible for all of the programs and that we run, all of the learning. April Conitzer is the Regional Learning Center Coordinator for Luxembourg, as well as Sturgeon Bay campus. And then our Chief Information Officer, Dan Minchef. So, I'm pleased to have them. So what's been going on at NWTC? Well, the first thing I guess I would say to you is that you may have heard that community colleges in general, technical colleges certainly are part of that, have had challenges when it comes to enrollments during the pandemic. In fact, across the nation, colleges such as ours saw a decline in enrollment of about 13%. We ended up at about -7%. So I guess we could feel a little bit better that we were better than average, but at any rate, and you know, one of the populations where we saw a significant decline was frankly among males. And that has not actually improved much. Now what we're seeing, of course, is many of the males, they're going out immediately to work. They're starting at $15 to $20 an hour. You know, if you're a young man, that's a lot of money right away, especially if you're living at home. So we continue to work on that issue in terms of programmatically what we're doing, but right now we have an unduplicated headcount enrollment of about 20,000 people attending NWTC, and of that 20,000 people, roughly half of those students are taking credit-bearing courses. And we, you know, of course, we do expect that to begin to rebound. I spent the day along with my colleagues actually going to the 3 school districts in Kewaunee County, meeting with Luxembourg Casco, the superintendent there, meeting over in Algoma, and then just got through meeting in Kewaunee with the new superintendent there as well. We are doing a lot of work with our local high school, with your high schools, with high schools in general. We have roughly about 4,000 to 5,000 dual credit students in our institutions. These are students that are taking credits in your high school and at the same time are earning credit at NWTC. About 80% of those credits they're earning at no cost to them or to the school. We've certified those instructors and they're delivering that education. The total number of credits taken is roughly around 1,400 credits, and that's worth about $210,000 when those are brought to our college. However, they can also be taken to the university and to really any other college that is out there, and students, of course, often do. I'm also proud to be able to say that we have established relationships with UWGB. We have over 20 programs now that transfer program to program from students leaving our institution to going into their institution as a junior, meaning they got that first 2 years at NWTC, and we just got authority, and it was a rather complicated process. So unless you really want to know more about it, the most important thing is we have authority now to offer the Associate of Arts and the Associate of Science associate degrees for transfer. Why do that? Actually, what we saw is that since 2013, we've gone from 15% of the students coming to our institution saying they've come in order to prepare for additional education to 28% of our students coming to us and saying that's why they're coming to our institutions. So we want to make that easy possible for them. We did that by signing agreements with UWGB, Lakeland College, St. Norbert College, and soon UW Oshkosh, which are the major institutions to which our students, when they do transfer, do go to. So we're feeling good about providing that. But of course, our primary and continues to be our primary mission is providing education to students to be able to leave our institution after 1 or 2 years with a degree or a technical diploma that allows them to pursue a career and a family sustaining career. And we continue to do that. So for instance, So some of the programming that we are continue to look at and begin to, as I want to say, have been adding based on what we have seen out there is a telecommunications program. If any of you would like to climb those tall towers and fix the equipment that's on the top, I have a program for you. We're doing that in partnership with Insight. The partnership actually is that we're co-locating our equipment onto their lab, their outside grounds. We're also doing a lot of work in augmented and virtual reality and data analytics. Those are very important pieces along with additive manufacturing, which many of us call the printing that we do, printing the objects, 3D printing. That is technologies that are really overtaking much of the industry out there, everything from manufacturing to healthcare. And augmented and virtual reality, we are also piloting that in a number of our different programs as different ways in which to teach and engage students. So for instance, a student might design, an architecture student, for instance, might design a building. This putting on those goggles allows them to actually walk inside that building and see everything that they built and then what needs to be fixed and what needs to be changed. I've used it, they maybe use it in order to talk down somebody who was threatening to commit suicide. So it provides real life, I mean, as close to real life situations where students are engaged. We've been very fortunate to establish a partnership with Hewlett Packard and have been serving on their advisory committees along with such notables as Harvard and Yale, who are doing a lot of the theoretical work. We're the ones that are testing out whether that theoretical work actually works, that you can use that. We are expanding our nursing program. You know, we expanded it in 2005 when there was a nursing shortage. Now there is a nursing shortage again. Right now, our expansion is primarily going to be in the part-time. For part-time nurses, about 67% of our students are part-time. And, you know, they're completing their degrees, but that's taking them twice as long. It might take them 4 years or 5 years, but they are combining having to work, oftentimes raising a family, taking care of a child, and then going to school at the same time, which has also led us to then put together a rather robust set of what I call wraparound services. So it's not unusual for a student to come to us and suddenly have an issue or an emergency that stops them from coming to college. Sometimes the emergency is something as simple as they ran out of money to buy gasoline. Of course, these days, that's easy to do. But then if you think about it, so you missed class because you couldn't buy the gas for your car. And then you've missed that class, then you missed the next class, and the next thing you know, you're saying, well, there's no sense me going, I'm too far behind. Shame on us if you can't come to class because you needed 25 or 50 bucks for gasoline. So we've gone out and raised money, not taxpayer money. We've raised money, our foundation has, and our employees have given, 82% of our employees give to the foundation to establish an endowment that allows us to give out emergency funds to students. And it's everything from help them with travel. Some students get evicted. Some students are homeless. Many students need food, especially towards the end of the month, or they need clothing to go out on interviews. They need counseling services, licensed counseling services, and we have those available to them. In fact, I was talking about the fact that enrollments have gone down. But while enrollments have gone down, the numbers of students that are actually leaving our institution with credentials has gone up. So it's gone up 13%. That means that, you know, while the inputs have been less, we're doing a lot better job with the folks that are there and getting them through to the point where they're coming out with a credential. So if you think of us as a manufacturing or business, you know, we're doing a much more efficient job with the product that's coming in and getting the outcome, which is ultimately what we want and certainly what our employers want as we move forward. We have been recognized nationally. We actually don't do this job because we want to get awards, but it's always nice to get recognized nationally and regionally. and for validation of what you're doing. We did receive the national award for out of Achieve the Dream. This is one award given out across the country. There's only one nationally given each year. We did earn that. We're a leader college in Achieve the Dream. We've received recognition through the Bellwether Awards. One of the things that getting these awards does is it brings us to the attention of people who provide grants. So from the Lumina Foundation, from the Gates Foundation, and then of course from the Department of Education, from the National Science Foundation, we have received grant funds. We just received $2.2 million in grants and grant funds out of what's called Title III. Those are competitive grants. And we also received $1.2 million out of competitive grants for the state just recently as we move forward. We, like you, also received a lot of federal money as through COVID. We received approximately $16 million, of which 8 million of that must go to students. And we've been distributing that to students in need. And we will be doing that well until we run out of funds. We know we'll at least have those enough funds to continue to support students through that money through the fall semester. Likely there'll be some in the spring semester as well. And then of course, then we're no longer having funds there. We've used the other money has been used to do a couple of things. One, the federal government gave it to us to offset losses in revenue. So as we look at that 13% or the 7% decline in enrollment, we lost tuition revenue. So how do we continue to run the college and losing that revenue? We're able to use these federal funds to do that. We've been very careful about how we do that with the federal funds because it's one-time money. So we don't want to get trapped into the fact that, okay, now we got to the end of the money at the end of in June of 23, and now what are we going to do? So we just went through a budget process where we did some additional right sizing of the college, eliminating positions that were either vacant, or we eliminated some positions where we had to let some people go, some programs that weren't getting the enrollments that they needed. But at the same time, we're also making investments in emerging occupations, and we're doing that by making good use of some of the funds that we have in our general fund. We also we expanded, we developed a mobile fire training lab, a mobile EMT training lab, and we have a mobile lab in electronics, and we have a mobile lab in machining that we've been sending out into our rural areas. So we continue to look at, well, what is the future going to look like in higher education? Because it's not going to be the same as it was before the pandemic. Of course, I'm sure you've probably heard that. Everybody says, well, the new normal is going to be something different. Well, one of the things that I would tell you that's going to be different is more of our students are taking courses in what we call a hybrid mode. So instead of having to be at the college every day, they only need to be at college during the days in which they are in the laboratories, and many of the other coursework is being offered online. But don't think of it as online, meaning, well, you got to wait for the student can go in anytime they want. We actually are offering most of that hybrid in what we call synchronized. So the class is happening at a particular time during the day. All of the students are on the computer at the same time, and we're interfacing with them at the same time. That tends to work better than the asynchronous, although we do have asynchronous courses as well. I think you're going to see that. I mean, it saves money for students. Another thing that we've been doing is we've been increasing the use of online resources. Instead of students having to buy books, we've created these packages of materials that they can use coming off of the internet. We really have reduced the cost of books or what the materials that they use by over 50% for students. So that's another way in which we're going out trying to reduce the cost for students. Frankly, now, if you were to come to our institution and take your Associate of Arts or come out with an Associate of Science, transfer to the university as a junior, you're going to save upwards of, if you're a part-time student, which many of them are, you're going to save the difference in the cost of that bachelor degree. Instead of being 39,000, which is what it would be at the university, is only going to be 25,000. So that's a significant savings. So we continue to look at ways in which we can reduce the cost of higher education for our students, for your students, as they come through. Likewise, of course, if they're taking courses in their high school and getting dual credit, then that's money saved as well. So we're trying to balance that with, of course, also being, we need revenue. So we want to do the right thing for our students, and that's the most important thing. And the rest of it's just, well, we just have to figure out how to do it and how to survive with the funding that we have. You and our district as a whole has been very generous in terms of your giving. Of course, the state has now for the second time has reduced property taxes by taking property taxes that we were charging to you and replacing them with state dollars. So we're not, while we're getting more state money, it's being offset by reducing property taxes. When I started here 25 years ago, property taxes paid for more than 50% of the cost of the colleges. Today, it's at 16%. We at NWTC, we actually have the lowest property tax per full-time equivalent student of the 16 technical colleges. So we feel like we have been good stewards of the monies that you have provided us, and we appreciate what you have provided to us. So that's just a little, I mean, what you'll see, and if you look in the package, you'll see, oh, well, they moved to 8-week semester, 8-week sessions. Why did they move to 8-week sessions as opposed to 15-week semesters? 8-week sessions, think of them this way. You take 4 courses, if you're a full-time student, you take 4 courses. In the past, you take 4 courses in 15 weeks. Now you take 2 courses in the first 8 weeks, and then you take 2 courses in the second 8 weeks. Same number of hours, same amount of instruction, but now it's, instead of having to spread your time over 4, you're spreading your time over 2 during those 8-week sessions. What we've seen nationally, and we had seen in the few courses that we were doing that originally, is that we get higher completion rates, better course success rates. Students take more classes, and they're more likely to graduate. And we've seen those same numbers come out in this year that we're completing now is the first year where all of our courses, with just a few exceptions like farm management courses, for instance, are in the 8-week mode. Last year, we had half of them in the 8-week mode. So that's something, again, that is delivering what we are wanting and expecting. And that is our focus on making sure our students succeed, because we know that the success that they have in the college is what's going to allow them to have family sustaining careers. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Do we have questions for Dr. Raffin? Raffin. I always say Raffin, but it's Raffin, right?
Right. Well,
I
and you're in
got it.
good company when you say Raffin, but it is Raffin.
Okay. Questions for Supervisor Swagel?
Thank you. You said only for courses, 4 courses in the 15 or 2 for the 8. Can the students take a lot more courses if they can fit it in and get the work done?
They could. We don't advise it, because if you think about it this way, when you in a 15-week semester for a 3-credit course, that's going to be 45 hours of instruction. And now you're going to, when you take 1 course, you still need to do those 45 hours. So if you were to take all 4 of those courses in 8 weeks, now you're going to take 4 times 45 in 8 weeks. That's a huge load. Doing 2 courses at 45 hours is essentially the equivalent of doing 2 and then doing 2, doing 4. So we did have some students in the beginning take 3 or 4 courses. Some of them struggle with that. A few can handle it. We wouldn't stop them, but we would advise them that probably is not the right thing to do, at least until they can figure out they can pass
Thank you, sir.
courses.
Any other questions for Dr. Raffin? All right. Well, as I said before the meeting, I would suggest streamlining or making more information available on the for prospective students. It's proven to be a bit challenging
Yeah.
from my end.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that feedback, and you can be sure that's the first thing I'll be dealing with tomorrow.
Well, You know, don't make it your first thing, but second or third
Yeah,
would
it'll
be
be
okay.
the first.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Raffin, and we're always glad to have you. So that's good information. All right, moving on. Appointments. Yes, let's take them together on this.
Kewaunee County Library Board, Scott Fritz, and Jail Strategy Committee, Dan Olson, John Massler, Gary Poppy, Tom Romden.
Do I have a motion to approve those appointments? Supervisor Augustine? Do I have a second? Supervisor Gillett? Discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of resolutions.
(2022) organizational meeting, approve rules of order and committee rules and duties.
Do I have a motion? Supervisor Vollenweider, second by Supervisor Kinnard. Discussion on that, on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution, whenever you're ready.
Committee days, April 2022 organizational meeting.
I have a motion. Supervisor Romden. I have a second. Supervisor Dell, were you nodding? Yes, okay. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Whenever you're ready for the next resolution.
A resolution granting the petition for bridge aid, Town of Lincoln, fiscal impact, $7,500 from County Aid Bridge Fund.
Supervisor Poppy, were you?
Yes, I'll make that.
I thought so. Supervisor Gillett, second. Discussion. I knew right where to turn on that. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will take a brief recess for committee appointments. And the way that we will do this is I'll just have the conference room on the other end that would be available for the returning supervisors. So we'll keep the those first term supervisors, Supervisor Langto, Supervisor Brown. Is that it? Supervisor Patrici is not here. So I guess you two can hang out and discuss amongst yourselves. Yes? No. Well, no, you're not. You're returning even though you were an appointment. So you can go down to the adult room. So I'll meet with the returning supervisors. Clerk, I think if she needs to give you any further instructions or information, or Mr. Pelt, they'll do that while I meet with them. Then I'll meet with you guys in just a moment. So if the returning supervisors want to head down there, I'll be right down.